Hello, Jim. Pat here. Gonna sit in the cockpit. See if I can get the camera up here where it belongs. Hi, I'm gonna make a recording for you of how to put this throttle together and take it apart the way we've got it built, so you'll have a record of this. Anyway, back there you can see I've picked up actually it's a double box in a box to ship this in, so I'll show you that in a little bit. Anyway, let's get to work, and I'm going to zoom this out a little, and there's the throttle. So I'm going to go through the parts and the tools you'll need. Okay, to start with the tools, you'll need a couple screwdrivers. I got a fine tip and a normal tip. I got a little stubby. You'll need two Allen wrenches. You'll need a 5/32 and you'll need a 3/32. I think that's it. So let me go through the parts now. You've got both end caps, the wheels, and yours. Anyway, I'm not gonna tell you to take yours because yours got some extra screws in it that we've taken out. It just needs the center screw. So some of the screws. There's not a lot of screws here. We'll go through all the screws. Here's the two handles, and this is kind of what made it so we could take this apart. What we've done is we've taken the handle and we tapped out the metal in here that this hooks to. This hooks right here, and we drilled into there and tapped it out and put screws in here. And on the screws, what we did is we took a couple of pieces of neoprene. There's a screw it's countersunk on this end, and it's a countersunk screw, and then it's got a piece of neoprene washer, and then it's got a flat washer, and another piece of neoprene. When you take it apart, those neoprene washers tend to fall off. There's one of them, and here's the other one. And you can see there's two screws going through there, and they just bolt right into there, and I'll show you later. You got those two. Then you got the handles come apart here. And the parts on the handles are, there's this part that stays with it, and then there's this part that comes apart. And on that are the thrust reverser handles, and they go right here. There's a little ball bearing right there with a spring on it. You don't have to worry about that. There's actually a screw that will tighten that up, but it's set properly to put tension on this. Anyway, and that's pretty much all the parts. And then there's the pieces of the handles for the idle cutoff. You got those. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take the lid off. So, we also have, this is a custom made, the dust cover that goes across the top of here between the two handles. The one you have is plastic. This is a metal one. We took a ruler, a 6-inch ruler, and cut it down, drilled holes in it, and painted it. And so it's bent to the right shape. It's steel, and it bolts down right there with 4 of the screws right there. You got to take that off, unscrew it. Of course, remember you're dealing with plastic here. So any screw you put in here, don't bottom them out and tighten them. Put them down till they stop and leave them. You don't want to over tighten things here. So you need that. So when you take the handles apart, and we're going to put it together and take it apart, these kind of got to reach down in here. Here they come. Got to reach down in there, and these are the wires. That's for that side of the throttle, and that's for that side of the throttle. You've got to reach in there and grab them. This is the wiring that hooks up to this connector right there, and all it is 2 connectors with a male to male. You can pull that off. Anyway, it's male to male. So this wire just sits right in here. This is the button, toga, auto throttle disconnect, and a button for the reverser right there. And they all go through this connector that hooks to this right here. And if you'll notice, everything is keyed. On this one, there's two black marks. And on this one, there's two black marks, black to black, just like that. That way you can't get them backwards. I should get a marker and mark them a little heavier. Hold on. Okay, again, the important thing to remember here is everything has been marked here. So when you take it apart, they're marked, both sides, and they line up right across. If you turn it around the other way, and I think the colors are kind of not an indicator because the colors change from this side to that side. But when you take it apart and drop it on the floor, when you go to put it back together, you line it up, you'll see the marks. And on both sides, the other one too, right here, you'll see the marks right on it, right? And that's this one over here. And it goes, it's only got one mark on it, I think. Yes, it's only got one mark, and I'm going to make sure it's a little darker. Yeah, it's pretty obvious. One's got two marks on it, one's got one mark. And it's the only way it'll go together, so you don't get them backwards or reversed. The other thing to remember is when you put these in, and you kind of, let me take it apart and show you. When you put it in here, it sits like that, and you don't want to pinch these wires when you put the top on. When you put it here, you don't want to pinch these wires on this really hard plastic, or you don't want this wire down here at the very bottom. Let me zoom it in there. You don't want this wire right here to pinch when you put this on. So this is going to go, that's the wrong side. This is going to actually hook up just like that, and it's marked straight across, and you're going to lay it in there. So it goes in that hole right there, lays right like that, right there, and then that sits right in there. So see how it's tilted over this way? So the wire goes in here and through this little channel, and everything tucks in, and that's it. And all you do when you stand it up, you want to make sure that this wire is not pinched right there. And you just stand it up like this, and that's it. It's all together, and then there's a couple screws on each side, and you've got the number one reverser goes in here like that, just like that, and then there's a bolt that goes in there. So there's a couple screws here. We'll put it all together. I just want to give you the once over on that. Okay, hopefully, let me look at my video and see if you can see everything. Yeah, I think you can. Okay, we'll talk about that in a second. More importantly, these wires here are tucked down in there when you first take it apart. You got to lift them out. So to take the top off, there's two screws here, here and here, and on the other side there's two screws here and here, and that's these little guys right here, these little Phillips guys, and they just go into there, and that's what holds the whole top on. So I'm going to take it off once you get those off, and you're going to take it off. So sometimes it's better to lift these and get ready to move them, because this is kind of a one-way. You kind of got to jiggle it off and move these down, and it comes up like that very carefully, and it comes towards you. Let me zoom out here a little bit. It comes towards you and tilts this way, and you can see right here the wiring. Now this wiring is on a connector, and this will just come right off. So let's talk about the inside here. This connector right here connects to this one right here. And these connectors here are called micro, what was the name of those? It'll come back to me. Molex. They're very nice connectors, male and female. So this is the wiring. This is the wiring that goes to the switches here, to these stab cutoff switches right here. Those are wired, and the horn and the brake. That's all that wiring right there. There's also wiring for 5 volts that runs underneath this tape. This is called gaffer's tape. This is black gaffer's tape. And I'll show you what it looks like. Hold on just a second. I'm just going to set that right there. Okay. So this is black gaffer's tape. It's just like a cloth tape. It's real tacky, and you can tear it off. It's like adhesive, and that's what this tape is in here. And the reason I use it, not only is it really black, it's sticky. It covers all the wires and doesn't let the light bleed through. Underneath all these is all the neon lights. So each portion of this that has white, anywhere there's white, I've drilled holes. Like there's 4 holes here, 4 holes here, 4 holes here, 4 holes here. There's multiple holes here, and from the other side I put LEDs, and I'll supply some of those LEDs. Let me find out where they are. Hold on. So the LEDs are just from a company called Lighthouse, and they're just little LEDs, and then you get little resistors, and you solder them up, and you got hundreds and hundreds of them. Actually, they'll never burn out. They're never going to burn out. Okay. So what you can see here underneath is this quick disconnect has the wiring for the switches and the brake and the light for the brake, and it also has some wire that goes underneath here for the 5 volts that goes over to these 2 terminal strips. These 2 terminal strips here distribute the 5 volts. This is another wire, a microfit, a Molex micro connector for 5 volts. So these are just distribution. The black wire is common, and the red is 5 volts. And this is each one of these goes to an LED or multiple LEDs. And these are just the distribution panels. All the wiring's underneath these gaffer's tape. And this gaffer's tape is every once in a while you got to put another little piece on, or it gets a little. You can see through here. Maybe you'll see a piece of the tape. No, you won't. I've also, because it was so bright, I put some yellow tape, a yellow paper underneath here. You can see the yellow right here, and there's some yellow underneath there, and it's a piece. And what it does, it diffuses the light because they were too bright. So just put some paper under it, and these will all come off. You can unscrew these right here. You can unscrew these and take these off. There's no need to. They're there permanently. You'll also notice that line doesn't go through the bolt like yours. This is custom made. And here's the adjustment for the 5 volts for the lighting. So the stab trims on both sides, the speed brake, the flaps. I didn't backlight I did not backlight the stab trim cutoffs because they're not in the regular one. I did I did not backlight the parking brake one. So I did backlight the and this I didn't backlight. So this, and this are all backlit. And here's the adjustment. This quick disconnect, like I showed you, hooks to this one right down here. And this one goes to a 5-volt connector, and I'll show you where that is. So to hook this all back up, just kind of lay it right like so. Let me get this camera down here. Zoom it in. You just kind of lay it like so, and you reach in here and you just connect it up. Male and female, just push together. Just like that right there. And when you put this together, you lay it here, and you got to make sure that these black wires go underneath here, underneath these this metal, because it'll get in the way of this cutoff switch. And when you go to put it on, you just kind of slide it over and set it on top, just like that. And you can look down inside and make sure it's underneath. And you got the 5 volts. Get your 5-volt connector. It's got to come out, and it just kind of lays down, just like, kind of jiggle it in place. Look in there, and the eagle has landed, right? Like so. It's got to go all the way to the end. There, it's on. So you can see there is one of the holes mounts with, another hole there, lines up right there. These are the shafts for the trim wheels. So it's on there, and you got to clear these wires now right here. You got to reach in there and pull them up, because when you put the top on, they end up down there. Okay, and you can see that you test them, and you can look down in there, make sure everything moves nicely. Everything moves nice. Let me bring this up a little. Everything moves nice. These, you can look down inside and see that everything moves nice. Everything works there. So it's on there. So I'm going to take it back off, and we'll talk about the parts inside now. So again, to get the top off, all you got to do is grab it right here and kind of lift it up. And you might have to reach underneath and disconnect this little red and black 5-volt connector. So when you go to lift it off, move these forward, and it just comes right off the top and tilts forward, and you can disconnect this connector if you need to. You don't have to, but don't forget to hook it back up. This micro fit. It's actually got, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 pins on it. So we've talked about the top. Pretty good shape. Gaffer's tape is all in place. I'll send the gaffer's tape with it if you need it. You just tear it off and put it on there. It's really sturdy. It's real sturdy. And there's the little terminal strips for the LED 5-volt right there. Okay. Let's put that aside and talk about the heart of this beast. The main assembly is this clutch assembly that runs the length of it here. I forget who makes it. There's a company that makes this. It's a clutch assembly. You never want to adjust it. There's adjustment screws. Never adjust those. It feels really good. It's got nice tension to it. So you got 2 clutch assemblies down in there, and they're hooked to gears. And you can see the gears right down in there. You got the gears for the idle cutoff. No, the idle cutoff just has a switch. Just has a micro switch right here, and hooked to it is the wires, and the wires come back towards the Leo Bodnar card. So you got 2 micro switches for your idle cutoff, and then you've got your throttle handles right here, and they go to they have a big gear here and a little gear there, and that's hooked to this pot, and that's a Hall effect pot, and the wiring goes back there underneath, right underneath through there. It comes underneath here, right there, comes underneath, and I have a piece of plastic in there, so this wire doesn't rub up against the pointy parts on the circuit board and tear it. You can see a little piece of plastic there just to protect the wiring. All this wiring comes underneath and connects to the Leo Bodnar card. The black, white, and red ones are the 1, 2, 3, the 4 pots, and you'll have a 5th pot. So you'll need to hook up your tiller to one of these unused ones. It'll probably I'm using Z, R sub X, R sub Y, and R sub Z. So it leaves Y and the one next to it called SLD there, and the one called dial. So there's 1, 2, 3 more pot places available. So there's a 5-volt, a ground, and then the pot hooks up. And you just push the button here and slip the wire in on these. And they're pretty small wires. These different colored ones are the switches. There's 32 switches. They're numbered B1 through B32, and they include a ground and a input on each one. And I think all the grounds are hooked together. Yeah, all the grounds are hooked together. So you got a lot of inputs over here. If you ever had to use more of them, you can loosen up the screws. There's 2 screws. There's 1 screw right there and 1 screw right there, and this whole circuit board will move away so you can get to these other ones back in here. Again, this screw right here and this screw right here allow this circuit board to move away. Don't forget you get that plastic underneath here, and that plastic is there to keep this wire from cutting into the bottom of the circuit board. It's pretty stout, you know. This thing is well built. It's all tie wrapped up in there. The wires aren't going anywhere. So these are the pots. This pot here is for this throttle, and this pot here right there is for this throttle. And then you got your speed brake and your flaps. And that's this gear and this gear right here. And here are their counter gears, and that pot and that pot. And they're right there. So the gears, let's talk about the gears. These gears don't have metal inserts, so they've been known to crack. So what I've got here is the last known in existence gears. Brand new, never been used. So you ever have to replace this gear or that gear or this gear or that gear, you just use an Allen wrench and take it off and put a new one on there and tighten them down to before they break. So JetMax throttle quadrant pot gears, 4 of them. Mike has 4, you have 4, and that's all the ones that are known in captivity that I know of. So you got 4 pots, you got the switches up here, idle cutoff switches, the horn switch, that's all the parts. So let's see, the Leo Bodnar card, here's the USB connection right here. You can see it right there. And what I usually do is I take that out and run it through this hole right there. Now to mount this thing on the stand, I mount it from this way. Instead of from the bottom, I take the clips on my stand that I'm sending you, mount this way. And so once you get the top off, that top right there, once you get that top off, then this stays on the stand and you can work on it. If you want to take this completely off, you just take these screws off here and here, and this whole thing lifts off. So let's talk about some wiring that you're going to need. So this is the wiring for the 5-volt, and that's this little connector right here. It's got 2 wires on it right there. That's the 5 volts to go to these terminal strips right here. And it needs 5 volts from your power supply. So what I've made here is this harness. on this end, whoops, on this end of the harness, it says 5 volts TQ IBL, integrated backlighting, IBL. It's black and red. That goes to your power supply, black and red, right there. And I've made actually 2 cables here, an extension if you need it. So what it's got, let me just disconnect it so you don't need it. So here's the cable. There's hooks to your power supply, and this connector hooks into that little connector right there. Right there. 5 volts, like that. Now, if this isn't long enough to reach from your power supply to the throttle quadrant, I've made an extension. An extension even says on it, IBL, and it's pretty, you can't get it backwards. So you hook this one into here, and now you got an extension that's longer. So now it's, it's 4 foot long, depending where your power supply is, to reach all the way up underneath. You'll probably need this. The reason I put this in so you can this extension so you can disconnect it at your power supply, and you can disconnect it at the throttle quadrant if you want to lift your throttle quadrant off. So this basically, this one is going to come up through the hole right here, right there, and hook to this right there, just like that. Except I got it backwards. It's going to come through here, like that, and hook to that right there. And you'll do this. This is long enough where this stays connected, right? And you never disconnect it except at this end if you have to. Or you can disconnect it inside here. If you don't want to disconnect it inside, you can disconnect it out here. Wherever you want to do it. This actually is long enough right here so it'll fit all the way down through. But if you want to lift this off, if you want to take this off and lift it off, you have to disconnect this. It'll become painfully evident when you go do it. So everything's labeled. You got that. So we've gone through the parts here, and you've seen the wiring. This wiring right here and right here goes around and underneath and hooks to the Leo Bodnar card. The only thing I think you're going to need to hook up to, and I will provide that, is a throttle quadrant connection. And I said I would use those little connectors. Let me find it. Hold on. That hurt. Okay, so what I got is 2 flavors. I got 2 and 3s. This is for 2 wires, a red and a black. So you just lift those up, and you can slip the wires in there, and just shut them like that. And this 3-1 is actually for 3 wires, which is perfect for the tiller, because what you'll do is the wire that's coming out here with 3 of them, and it'll probably hook to the dial or something. You'll see it coming out. I'll label it. It's going to have a black, a white, and a red wire coming out, and it'll hook to your throttle quadrant. And all you do is cut your little connector off that you have, cut it back a little bit so you can use it later on, and take the 3 wires, strip them back, and shove them in here, because the other end's already going to be connected to here, and that'll be for your tiller. So I'll put extra ones of these in with the stuff. So you're all set there. I'll wire that up. You should, and since you're going to have to take this apart, you're going to have to mount this on the frame from the top here coming down. This will have to be disassembled, and you'll have to put it together once it's on the stand. So there's really no sense in you got to learn how to do it anyway. So you might as well learn how to take it apart, put it back together. And you're going to bolt onto the stand here and here and here and here. The clips are already on the stand. Um, Once you put them on there, you put your USB up through here, twist it around and shove it in there. You bring your 5 volts up through here, right up through there. And when you put the top on, you hook that up. And then you have your connector back here, right at the back. That was that 8-pinner right here, right there. That's it. And that's all the connections. So let's go ahead and put the top on and put it together. So we're going to pretend here that you've set this on your stand. You've bolted these two and these two down. You've run your USB up through here and plugged it into there. Okay. And you got your cable for your 5 volts, which is right here, ready to go. And you could, when you go to lay this down, you just drop it down through here. So we're going to turn this around so it's facing us, which is this way. Actually, we're going to reverse it so we can get to this connector. So it's backwards there. So we're going to lay this way. Let me zoom this out. Bring this back a little. And bring that up a little so you don't have to look at my kneecaps. Okay. So we're just going to lay it like this. Here is the, whoops, idle cutoffs are right here. And they go through right here. So we're just going to lay this right like that and grab this connector and hook it up. It only goes one way. It won't go the other way. Like that. And we're going to set that right like this, and we'll lower these down a little bit, leave them loose, and we're just going to put this underneath. Remember I told you how to have it underneath? This black wire's got to be underneath, and you're just going to kind of lift it up and put the handles through, the idle cutoff handles through, just like that. Okay, I can see that the wire's there, and it just lays down on here. That's pretty much, you'll feel it. It'll work its way onto where it needs to be, like that. And you can move these handles carefully until they're lined up. Just carefully move them back and forth. Then you got to reach through here and pull them up. These wires, you've got to reach through and pull them up. Okay, that's it. So you can look down inside here and with a flashlight and make sure that those wires that are underneath the frame and not on top, between the frame and here. Oh, if you'll notice my parking brake, it's got this contraption of little pieces of metal on both sides that are bolted together. I had a real pilot get in here, decided he was going to treat this like a real throttle. So he pushed on this so hard it snapped it. So I've rebuilt this. And you could probably hang a truck on it. You'll like it when you see it. It's very, it's kind of cute. That's for the, it won't break now, I guarantee it. So it's sitting on here now and going over the edge. What we didn't do, we didn't put the 5 volts in. You can see right there, I screwed that up. So I got to lift it back off, right, a little bit, and shove that 5 volts right through there. Right through there, like that, and then put it back down. Now the 5 volts is underneath. Okay. Now that it's sitting there, we can go ahead and take the screws and put them in here. So let's get the screws. 1, 2, 3, and 4. Little round head screws. There's 4 of them right there. And they're going to go right in here. Somehow tilt this up a little bit. There we go. You can see them this way. There they go. Almost started by hand now. Start that one by hand. Get it going. Get the screwdriver. And just get that one started, just like that. Okay, we're going to take the other one and line it up right here. Get it going. Now I'm taking them almost all the way down, leave them a little loose. There's no sense in tightening them up. Now remember, this is going to be laying on the stand, so you won't be able to tilt it on its side. Come to the other side. You have 2 more screws over here. And that one started there. And that one started right there. Okay, and I'll go ahead and tighten these down just past snug. We're dealing with plastic here. We don't want to make them so tight that we crack plastic. Turn this around. There. And there. It's on there. It's not going anywhere. There's our 5-volt connection. And then we'll have the USB coming out down here also. Okay. We can set it back down here. And you can see the cutoff levers work. So we can go ahead and put the cutoff levers on now. So they look, these little ones just like this. Number 2 goes on this side. So here's the screw with it. The screw will be mounted in it. Right there, little screw, little hole. Goes right there. Let's zoom this in just a little bit. I think it is zoomed in. Okay, there's the number 2. That's where we need a little Phillips. And we'll just tighten that down, just like that. Just past hand tight. There. And we'll take number 1. Where's number 1? Where'd number 1 go? There it is. The screw's already in there. And it's going to go right there. And we'll get that one started right there. You know what I need to do? I need to lift this off and put a USB in there because we're going to put this on a tester and test it once we get it all put back together. Could even run 5 volts to it. That'd be a good thing. Okay, bear with me 1 second. Okay. Now, there's no way to get this USB on there without taking it back apart. Nah, I'm not going to do it. I'll do this USB later and we'll power it up and I'll show you. Okay, so we got the little levers on there. Now we're going to put the handles together. So there's a left and a right side. It's pretty obvious which is left and right. So this is got the 2 little marks right there. And all we do is line them up with the other two marks there and put that on there. So they're lined up, and we tuck that right in there. You see where it's tucked in, all the wires are tucked in, it goes right in there. And then we take we need the screws. Need 3 screws and a bolt. So 3 screws and a bolt. Lay them right there. So you got 1, 2, 3, and a bolt. And we're going to stand this up. Important thing is you don't pinch the wires. You don't want to pinch the wires when you stand it up. Like that. You can look in there and see it. Okay. And you can take one of these little screws, just like that, reach around and start it by hand. And take your little stubby and just get it started. Just like that. And get the other 2. And I'm going to put the other one right here. Again, make sure you don't pinch wires. Invariably, you will drop a screw down inside. Be prepared to scream. Okay, that's not all the way tight. And then we get the third one. Not tight. Okay, now you need your reverser handle. And there's a number 2 and a number 1. We're dealing with number 1, the captain's side. So here's the reverser handle. Here's the bolt for the reverser handle. All it does is sit right like that. The bolt comes through this side, just like that. And you start tightening it down. Just tighten it down by hand, as far as you can. And then you get your 5/32 right here, and you can just tighten it down. And you want to tighten it down. That's what controls the friction here. You don't want it to fall. See how it falls? Tighten it up so it doesn't fall. Okay, once it's about where you want it, then you tighten these other 3 up. 1, that one. Again, tighten it all the way down and just a little bit past snug. Don't want to crank on these things. Okay, so you see how it's kind of falling down? This is the adjustment for tension right here, this Allen. Tighten it up. And what you want to do is get it where you think, and then when you get them both together, then you want to pull them and get the same tension. And then once in a while, you got to tighten them up. They're just a little bit there. That's your tension. Obviously, the micro switch is up here. You can hear it. Click. All the way up. And I think that's a little too loose. Okay, that's done. Good to go. It goes down, and you can see it moves forward and back, forward and back. We're going to do the other side. It's just the same way. We'll move this one forward, this one back. Here's the connector, and you hook it right up to here. You got white to white, black to black right there. You can see the marks, just like that. It sits in that groove, sits in this channel, just like that. So the wires go through this channel. It sits right there, tucks down in here. You don't want to make sure these wires are pinched underneath anything. I can't tell you how many times I've actually pinched the wire and caused a problem. Okay. Okay, not pinched, not pinched. And you just stand it up, just like that. And you can look in here, and I can see it's pinched already. Pinched. Actually, what you can do is take this and twist it up a little more. That'll help it from getting pinched. Yeah, just unspun. That'll help it. Okay, like that. Hook this up. Like that. lays in here, goes in that channel just like that. Get it all the way down. Just the first offset side's a little tougher. There. And stand it up. Man. Oh, I see the problem here. This needs to be moved. I actually need to release that pressure on that. And that should work. There we go. Okay. Just doesn't feel right. There we go. Okay. When it all goes together, it goes together. So you can take 1, 2, 3, and the bolt. 3 and the bolt. You can put this in by hand. Get it started. There we go. Get this one started. There we go. So I'm going to spin it around here so you can see it. Get this one started. And get this one started. Fairly, you're trying to hold it all together and you drop a screw down inside. And then you scream. And then your wife comes running. What? Leave me alone. And that one's done. So we'll tighten those all down. And tighten that down. And tighten this one down. And we'll put the bolt in. Get the reverser handle. Sits right in there. Invariably, you get it backwards once or twice before you realize, like, no, I didn't get it backwards. Tighten that down. Tighten this down. Okay. I'll tighten these up. That's done. That's done. And that's done. Okay. Tighten this one up. So what I'm going to do is tighten them both so they feel the same. Too much. That one's got to be looser, and that one's got to be tighter. So what we're going to do is we're just going to lift them and feel them. Yeah, that feels good. Okay, so you can see that they're both moving nicely, separately, and you can look down in there at the wires. Make sure there's nothing bound down in there. You want to look down inside and look at the wires. Go like this. Make sure everything looks good. Push the buttons. Lift the handles. Handles are set. I think I got the 5-volt wire. Oh, it's good. Yeah. I need to tuck this 5-volt wire up inside so it doesn't get all messed up. We'll just tuck it in there for now. Okay. Throttles are done. Then you take the 4 screws, 4 little screws. Where are they? 1, 2, 3, 4. They're black Allen screws. They're 5/32, and they thread right into Did I get these backwards? I don't think I did. Where are the screws for these? Oh, dope. I think I got them backwards. I did. Okay, my mistake. So these countersunk ones go here because they're countersunk. My mistake. I wonder why they were painted gray. The painted gray ones go up here, right up here. There we go, like that. Okay, and the countersunk ones hold the case on. Yeah, my mistake. Okay, countersunk goes there. We'll take this one off here. And we'll take the little countersunk one, the Phillips head, put it right there, do it on the other side. My mistake. Okay, we'll spin it around. Do this on the other side too. Take this one off. And put that on. Take this one off. And put this one on. I think my wife's gonna have dinner ready here in just a second. So this now goes in between, kind of separate them. Take that screw off, and there's only one, you can get it backwards. So once you put it in, you got to line the holes up. You can get it backwards, and that sets, that hole lines up right there, and you can see they all line up, all four of them. You put one of them in by hand, and you put the next one in by hand. If you force it, you can cross thread these. So you want to do them by hand because this is a bent piece of metal. There. Make sure they go in by hand. And then we can push this forward and do this one back here. Again, by hand. You don't want to do these with a screwdriver because you can cross thread them. And here's the last one. Need to do this one so it lines up and then bend it over. There. If you bend it over, you can't get it started. And you lay this one down and start it. Because if it doesn't line up, you got to take the bolt out and put the screw in and then bend the metal over. And it's a ruler, but it's painted. So you take these and you screw them down, and as soon as they touch, you stop. You do not over tighten these babies. Bring this down and stop. Bring this up. Good. And do this one. You push down on it, then screw it down. Okay. Thrust reversers. Perfect. So that's all done. Those are done. Now we got the handles to put on. They're pretty easy. So you've got a flaps gauge and a speed brake. You can see that the screws are already going through. Get the foam washers, and you kind of lay them. You start down to this end, and you lay it right here. And all you're going to do is flaps on that side, speed brake on this. Got it backwards. speed brake. All you're going to do is start it and make sure it threads. There's 2 screws right there. And you're going to just take it and put it right there and just kind of start it. Oh, it's got to be in that hole right there. That's what the trick is. It's got to be in the hole to get it started. Yeah, it's got to be in the hole. You see, this is spring loaded here, right here. Spring loaded. And for it to, okay, my wife just said it's all almost ready. I'll have to stop this one. About how long? Sharon? I've been told dinner's ready and I have to go now. Okay, I'm going to stop this recording and we'll come back in another one and we'll mount these and then we'll take it apart. So I think that's enough for now. Well, I figured out how the pause button on the recording works. Anyway, we're back to where we were. So we were putting the speed brake arm on, and the 2 screws that have the neoprene washers go into those 2 screws holes right there that we tapped out. And I think they were through bolted before, but we tapped them out and put screws on them. So to get those lined up, you got to lift that up just like that, and then take your screwdriver and get them started very carefully in the holes. Get that one started and get that one started. And then get this one started. So you take them all the way down. I need to do this one. And then you do this one. And then you do this one. You just keep going back and forth. Now the trick is here that the neoprene washers will compress. So you can tighten them up pretty good, but you don't want to strip out the metal, obviously. Get them pretty snug. And then you do this one again just a little bit, and this one a little bit, and then this one just a little bit, and this one just a little bit. There. You'll know when they're snug. And then that should. Now you'll notice on mine I have taken a little file and I got an arm spot. So when it drops into the arm position, it stops, but it'll still push forward. So when you arm it, it stops right there, and you go to flight detent, and it's a very slight little filed on the metal, so it'll stop in flight detent and then all the way up. So that works really good. And that's what the little file spot for the armed. And that's done. Let's turn it around, do the other side. Same deal. We've got the 2 screws with the little washers on them, and it's poking through a little bit. You can see it's poked through. And we'll take this all the way down to the cutout where flaps 40. We can go all the way up to 0. Right to there. Yeah. And what I'm going to do is take the screwdriver. You actually need a longer one. Put the screw on it like that and get it started. Just barely started. Just a little bit. That one started a little bit. And that one started a little bit. Once it's started, you can drop the the pin on the peg and tighten them up. Again, the neoprene washers tend to compress, so you tighten it up, and you'll know when it's snug. Don't want to go too much and strip it. Okay, and then works just fine. Okay, we're all done with that. Parking brake, idle, flaps, that's all done. We don't have any parts left. Now the wheels. I'm only going to put one wheel on to, so on the wheel, there's a little 330 seconds, Allen wrench. And on the end, there's a fiber washer that's gray and a metal washer that's black underneath it. And you just take the wheel and put the wheel on. Just put it on. Take the screw, put it in there, and tighten it down. Now originally there's a set screw on the handle. Let me show you. On the handle, there's these 4 little Allen heads. You popped it off. There's a little set screw underneath that screws into the plastic to keep it from spinning. We took that out so we could take this on and off. So we leave it off. And you can tighten it up a little bit here so it doesn't spin. Anyway, it's on all the way. Here's the adjustment for the 5 volts. That's all done. That's working good. We get that adjusted. So what I'm going to do now is get my 5-volt power supply up and hook up the backlighting. Bear with me 1 second. Okay, I've got my 5-volt power supply plugged in here. Oops, I keep sitting down in this chair and it's hard. Okay, so let me pop this up here. There's my 5-volt power supply. It's adjustable 12 and a 5-volt. And I've got the IBL long and short jumper cable, both jumper cables. They go to the IBL right here that comes underneath. So it's all hooked up just the way you would hook it up to your power supply. And the dimmer switch is turned all the way down. It's off right here. So I'm going to turn the power supply on. Power supply's on, and I'm going to shut the lights off in here so we can get an idea how this works. Bear with me. It's going to get a little dark in here, and we'll turn this up and show you the backlighting. Bear with me. Let me shut my lights off. Okay, and we got these lights we can turn off up here too. Shut these lights off. Okay, and now I'm going to turn the dimmer up on the pedestal. I mean on the throttle quadrant. I turned it on. So that's, let me turn this around so you can see it a little better. That's about as dim as it gets. Let me zoom it in here. Turn this a little more so you can see. Oh, the wheel's on it. I got to take the wheel off. That's the problem. You don't need the wheel. I'm going to take the wheel off. Take the screw off with the 330 seconds and just pull this off. Okay. Move that over there, and let's zoom in a little bit so you can see the backlighting. Okay, so that's all the way, that's off. That's turned to 1 notch. I'm going to turn it up. And you can see how bright it gets. You turn it down and turn it up. And it's pretty, I mean, when it's dim all the way, it's really dim. And when you turn up all the way, it's too bright. So about halfway works really good. It's really nice here. The colors are nice, amber orangey color. The bleed through inside is very low. You can look inside and see there's no bleed through. The horn cutoff light works. The down flaps. All these are lit over here. The flight detent. Remember, each of these you can look and see each LED. They look really, really good. So that's all the way up, and that's all the way down, and that's off. So let me turn the lights back on in here. Okay, I'll turn those lights on, and this light, and these lights. Okay, give you an idea what it looks like when it's bright. It's all the way up, and that's off. Okay, just want to show you how that works. Okay, now we're gonna take it all apart real quick. This will be fairly fast, so you'll know how to take it apart. Basically, it's reverse of what we just did. So, first things first, let's take the flap gauge off since it's right here. Let's see, I need the screwdriver. Flap gauge, you take the 2 screws right here. And we'll just unscrew this one, unscrew this one. Now, we usually lose the neoprene washers. You got to be careful because the neoprene washers will fly off. And they go inside, they'll fall inside. That should be it. Okay, so when we took it off, you can see the fiber washer just about slid off. So just screw it back down. It'll fall inside if you do that too far. And I'll just leave these on there. We go to put them back on. Okay, that one's off. And you can see it's spring loaded. All done. We'll put that part right there. And as long as we're over here, we'll take off the 2 screws on the side. Right there, I'll take this screw off. These are the countersunk ones. Take that one off. And we'll take this one off. We'll just work from this side to start with. Put those screws right there. We use a little fine tip one to take the number 2 zoom this out just a little. Number 2 idle arm. And that's off. And I put the screw back in the idle arm. It's such a small screw, it's really easy to lose that one. We'll just put it back in there. Okay, that's off. We'll throw that in there. Next, we're going to loosen up the reverser bolt. Loosen it up and just whip it off all the way out. Pull that out. There's the reverser arm. Throw that in the pile. Then we can take these 3 off. This one. This one. And this one. Kind of hold it while it's coming off. Get all 3 screws off. It'll just kind of fall in your hand. Okay, get all those 3 screws off. And then we can separate these a little bit. And this comes off, and we just pop that connector off right there. We just pop that connector off. And then we've got this separate. Throw that over there. So everything on this side is done. We'll pick it up, we'll turn it around, and we'll do the other side. And I'm going to disconnect this 5-volt cable underneath, which you wouldn't have to because yours would still be on the stand. I sit in the first officer seat or the captain's side, depending on what I'm going to do. We'll take off the speed brake handle. That's this screw. Take it almost all the way off, and then take this one all the way off. We just want to take it off enough to get so it comes off and we don't lose the fiber washers. Okay, and the fiber washer stayed on there with a neoprene. Okay, that goes in the pile. Then we can take these screws, loosen them a little. Doesn't make any difference which order you do these in. You just take them off. 1, 2, and 3. Okay, then we get to 5/32 and take this bolt out that holds the reverser. So if you take this bolt all the way out, that reverser is metal and it falls down and makes a big clunk. Be aware of that. Okay, we've got the reverser handle out and the bolt out, and we're going to reach in there and disconnect the connector. It's off. So we got this one off, and you can see the whole part right there. That part's done. Okay, so let's take the idle cutoff switch handle off on this side, number 1. Okay, and then pull that off, put it back in. Put that aside. And then we got the 2 screws that hold the base on here. Got these are 4 little black ones here are the mounting ones for the base that we didn't use. And put this over here. We'll keep all these parts together. That and that. Okay, we'll take these 2 countersunk, hold the plastic to the base. Take that off. Take that off. And throw those over there. So then we got to take off this metal dust cover. So we'll just take them off. You don't have to take these off, but no, you do, because it's almost impossible to put this back together with this on. Okay, that one's off. Let me punch that back up there so you can see a little better. And zoom out just a little there. Take that one off. And remember to do these from one end to the other, these screws. Otherwise, if you try to put the screws in when the metal's bent, it won't work. The metal's got to be straight to start the screw. That's off, and the last one right here. Okay, we got those 4 screws, and we've got the dust cover with the metal part right there. Put those aside. So I think the top's ready to come off. So it comes off facing us, because that's where the cutoffs are. So we're going to kind of lift it up, move these forward, and just kind of lift it up. Everything slides through towards us like this, carefully. And we can disconnect this quick disconnect right there, that quick disconnect. So the top is off now, totally off again. Okay, we'll put that aside, and voila. So we've back to where we started. So I think we're pretty much done with this video. Let me We've shown you all the parts, assembled it, disassembled it. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to set it up to test it on a program called VKB Joy Tester, which you need to get, and I'll talk to you about where you get that. A company called VKB makes joysticks. They have a great joystick tester that I highly recommend. It works great. We'll hook this up to a computer with VKB standalone, and I'll show you how clean. And you can even try this VKB program on the one you have and see the difference in noise level between these pots and the one you have. So I'm going to get that set up. I'm going to pause this and get that set up and do that, and we'll move forward. This is excellent. I want to show you the box we're going to put this in. So the box, hopefully got a box in a box. So on the outside of the box, you're going to have the stand, and then there's going to be a box inside. It'll have the throttle quadrant, and there'll be foam in there. So you have a box in a box. It'll be well protected. Okay. I gotta get some. Whoops! I gotta get some more parts together. Let me give you a call now. I'm gonna pause this and give you a call. Okay. Let's see. Let me pause this. Where's my mouse? Right here. Take this throttle quadrant, set it over here. Pause this for a couple minutes. Where's the pause button? Here it is. Okay, this is going to be difficult to see, but what I'm going to do is show you. I'm going to move the axes around on the throttles, and you're going to see them in VKB joystick tester. So watch as I move the throttles. So I'm moving the throttles, and you can see them up and down, up and down. That's the right one. And here's the left one. Give it a second to come back around on the screen. You gotta wait till it comes back around on the screen. This is the left one. See how smooth it is? Up and down, and up and down, and up and down, and up and down. And here's the flaps gauge. Up and down, and here's the speed brake. And you can see up and down, up and down, and up and down, up and down. And there's hardly any noise at all. These are very clean signals. So just want to show you that's working really good. And what I'm doing, you can see right here, I'm turning I was moving the throttles up and down, and you were watching it on the screen with the USB hooked up, and they were real smooth. So they're real clean. I just wanted to show that to you. So that's the end of that. So I'm going to stop this recording. Stop recording.